1. What is at the edge of the universe? The edge, you ask? This would imply that there truly is space and time. Remember that those are just illusions that help you to better play the game in this physical reality. From our perspective, there is no edge, no dividing line that ends at the edge of the universe. Your universe is one of infinite other universes, which make up all that is. There is nothing outside of all that is, because the multiverse, as some prefer to call it, contains all that ever exists. You see, there cannot be anything else, otherwise it would be part of all that is. 2. How many dimensions are there? A wonderful question, and in keeping with your request to keep each answer short, we will give you the most basic and simple answer. Our answer is one or infinite, depending upon your perspective. This of course seems confusing to you, but let us briefly explain. From our perspective, there is no separation. There is only one. However, from your perspective, there seems to be a separation between each dimension, as if they are stacked one on top of each other. This is oftentimes how humans visualize dimensions, but we do not perceive them in a vertical ascension or descending line. All that truly separates the experiences that can be had in each dimension is the vibration at which each being is choosing to resonate with. This of course directly impacts their perception of the creations which they manifest. This is why we say, from our perspective, there is really only one dimension which contains all of existence. 3. Can animals incarnate as humans? Yes, of course. It is simply the soul's choice to determine what kind of experience they would like to participate in. With each new incarnation, the soul is afforded a new perspective that is gained as a result of the life they lived. Many souls have chosen to incarnate as both animals and humans. It allows for a different experience that would not have been perceived if the soul had not chosen to experience both. 4. Why does the sky look blue but outer space looks black? Shouldn't it be brighter because you are closer to the sun? From our perspective, the light that you perceive is part of the illusion. However, we will give you a more scientific answer to help you to better understand this phenomenon. The Earth is encased in what you refer to as an ozone layer. The ozone layer is made up of various gases which reflects light differently than if you did not have one at all. The light that is emitted from the sun is then trapped within this ozone layer, and as a result your sky appears to be blue. When you see pictures of outer space, it looks as if the sky is black because there is no ozone layer for the light to reflect off of. When there is no ozone layer, the light is more scattered, or no longer condensed into a relatively small area of space to reflect off of. Your night sky appears to be dark blue or black because the photons of light are greatly reduced due to the setting of the sun. This reduces the light which reflects off of the ozone layer, and so the sky appears to be darker. 5. Are there really vampires that exist within our reality? Yes, in a sense there are vampires that walk amongst you. Although they are portrayed in a very different light than what they truly are. These beings do not live off of the blood of others. Rather, they live off of the energy that others allow to be taken from them. This is why oftentimes vampires are portrayed as being allergic to the light or will disintegrate if they come into contact with spirituality. This is simply a metaphor. Essentially, those who could be considered vampires have forgotten how to ignite their own inner power, so instead, they rely on the energy and light of others who allow them to do so. Please know that you do not have to concern yourself with these beings stealing your energy. No being can steal what you do not willingly allow them to take. This is why it is often said that vampires cannot withstand the sunlight. From our perspective, it is simply a metaphor for those who rely on the energy and light of others, cannot withstand the higher vibrations of a being who intends to share their light rather than allow themselves to be consumed with fear. Remember that fear and faith cannot coexist. 6. Are there really mermaids that exist in our reality? Yes, there are many mermaids in your oceans and seas upon your world. They often go undetected as they are fearful of humans at this time. There are in fact many species that exist upon your world which your scientists have still not acknowledged or discovered. You will continue to learn of many new beings that coexist upon your world as you continue to elevate in consciousness. Mermaids are quite social, and live in communities deep within your oceans. They do look a bit similar to your mythical depictions of them in that they resemble the torso and upper body of a human, and the bottom of a fish. The tail is similar to the tail of a dolphin in that it contains cartilage as well as muscle which is covered in a smooth thick layer of skin. They do not have the exact faces of a human, rather you would perceive their faces as strange as they do not have a nose as you do. It is significantly smaller than a human nose. They have gills instead of lungs, and as a result they do not require a nose for breathing air. There have been humans who have encountered populations of mermaids, however this is often discounted as being a myth. They will be discovered on a mass scale when the human collective consciousness is ready to peacefully coexist with these docile creatures. 7. What is the meaning of life? Ah! What a wonderful question, and a very common one at that. Humans tend to overcomplicate this, however from our perspective the answer is quite simple. The meaning of life is what you make of it. You are all simply here to have an experience. To have an experience that will allow your soul to gain another perspective of all that exists. 8. Is Greek mythology a myth? To this we would reply, is anything really a myth? Greek mythology is based upon stories that were passed down through many generations of the earlier populations of Atlantis. Certainly Atlantis did exist. Upon the downfall of this once great civilization, many citizens of this land were forced to flee as it was crumbling into the sea. These citizens of the former Atlantean population scattered throughout the Mediterranean, parts of Egypt, and South America. They often recalled tales of their once great civilization that had been swallowed by the sea. Eventually as time passed and those who lived upon this land left the physical world, it became known as legends and myths rather than history. Imagine if you tried to explain what your internet works to someone in the 1500s. Most of your explanation would be misunderstood and often taken out of context because they would have no other technology to compare it to. Many of the gods, goddesses, and mythical creatures certainly existed, although it was misunderstood by the subsequent generations that could no longer comprehend or obtain the abilities, technology and advancements that once were so very common upon Atlantis. This is of course because this time period was involved in the descending of consciousness. Just as all of you are now finding and regaining new abilities with each generation, those at this time were losing these abilities just as quickly. So to answer your question directly, these gods and beings did exist, yet many of the stories have been embellished as they have been passed down from generation to generation. These gods were many of you. You were able to come and go in your physical bodies. You were not stuck in one form at that time. You were able to shape-shift in the early period of the Atlantean civilization. The higher the vibration that you maintain, the less dense your physical form will appear. Take note. Do you not find it a bit coincidental that there is now a resort named Atlantis which sits upon the remnants of a once advanced civilization called that very same name? It is held within the human collective's memory. You are regaining your memory one step at a time. 9. How do you become an angel? From our perspective, we have always been angels. We did not become angels. Humans often think in a linear fashion where there is a beginning and an ending because that is the illusion you are currently within. However, from our perspective there is no beginning and there is no ending. All is eternal. However, from your perspective you could say that angels are essentially you in a higher vibration. We are all one. We are you, and you are us. 10. If Earth is hollow, then why can't we just walk into it? Earth along with many other planets could be considered hollow. However, from the third or fourth dimensional perspective it would appear to be filled with mass. Only upon ascending to the higher vibrations of the fifth dimension does the mass no longer seem to exist. This is because the faster the vibration, the less dense the structure appears to be. If you were to increase your vibration enough to maintain the resonance of the fifth dimension, you would certainly be able to walk into the center of your Earth. There are beings dwelling within your physical Earth, you just don't perceive them yet. It would be similar to a being who is choosing to have a very negative outlook. This would of course prevent them from seeing the wonderful opportunities that are manifesting before them. They do not perceive them because their vibration is too low to perceive the opportunities. We hope that you have enjoyed our answers to your questions and that we have in some way served you. In love and light, we are your angelic guides.